First off, welcome everybody, especially our long-awaited arrival.
Thank you. I'm so sorry for the delay.
No, it's exciting. This is, it's never too late to get into it. Just as long as you finally do eventually. That's the thing. So, I hate to say it, but you hopped in on one of the most boring classes we're going to have. Okay?
Okay.
It's very dry because we're going over a contract. And how you use the contract is what's exciting, but the literal contract itself is what it is. So, but you need to know it like the back of your hand.
That's okay. It's an extension of my day. That's all.
Yeah.
I've been looking at contracts all day.
So, there you go. So one thing leads right to another. So you're prepped and ready for it.
Yes, sir.
So I'm gonna have the contract up on the screen, and we're gonna kind of walk through, but we're gonna actually fill out the contract that you see in front of you.
Okay.
And I gave you a property that we're going to write the offer on, and I gave you comps for that one. So we're kind of because I kind of wanted to expose you to as much as possible. Oh, I didn't go all the way around here.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay.
That's a plan.
So, yes, and this is what the end of the homework of Breakthrough Breakout Training 1 is actually printing off a couple of these, because one of the stupidest things, and it's so small, but this is what I want to make sure you guys don't make the same mistakes that I have. Nobody even explained to me the difference between a private and a public. I did not know it. I mean, I probably gave my clients the private one the first like 7 or 8 times, not realizing that there were 2 different ones I was handing out. It's that small of a difference. One has the information, commissions, days on market, price drops, the agent information, showing information, gate codes. It has all that. The one you give to your clients doesn't.
Right.
And it's that small. So that's where we begin, is basically we get you right up, and then you print it off, and then you're gonna show the property to one of us and just kind of explain it. That way you're ready to go. You know what I mean? And you're gonna show us like where you look at commissions, where you look at price drops, where you look at showing information to know that you're not gonna get surprised. Nothing's worse than getting embarrassed in front of a client. You know what I mean? And knocking on a door thinking it's vacant, or walking into a house thinking it's vacant when it's not. So many small things, you know what I mean? So that's where we start. Okay? Alright, so
Agent showings are just half sheets. They're very handy when you're going out in the field.
there's a lot of different ways to print off. You'll see
Yeah.
the MLS is huge. Every screen has 50 different options. When you print off a listing, exactly. I didn't realize I had one other thing checked, so I printed off these as well as the one-liner, as well as the supplements. And it all depends on which boxes you have checked. So yeah, whatever you find works for you that's the way you should run. Yeah. Well, the things that work for me are a lot more basic, because I'm not the foo-foo-y guy. I'm not going to come with like a whole notebook for my clients with all the charts and colored things, but it works for other people. What I do isn't broken, it definitely works, but if you're the foo-foo-y person that loves giving your clients things and all like the special stuff, there's a time and a place for that, absolutely. So, cool, we're up and running. Alright, so welcome to the wonderful world of purchase contracts. Because more than likely, the first people you're going to deal with are buyers. If you get a listing right off the bat, let me know. We will go through all the listing training to make sure you have what you need to get into that. But buyers are a dime a dozen. Okay? And so for every 10 leads we get on our website, well, probably more than that, probably for every 100 leads, maybe 3 of them are sellers that do seller valuation requests. People just love to look on for properties, and those are the people that we put in our pipeline for the future, right? So with any luck, within a month, you're going to be out there easily showing properties, hopefully writing an offer, okay? If all goes well. All right, so it begins with the property, okay? So we did a variation of this a couple weeks ago when we were looking at the properties, and I asked, we had Mom played the buyer's agent, and they played the seller's agent. And I wanted to see, looking at the same set of comps, what they came up with. And they were you guys came in a lot closer. Which,
$5,000.
for the listing agent, it was great because they didn't overprice it. For the buyer's agent, it was good because you got them to a reasonable amount. Sellers will almost always want to overprice their property because their house is better than everybody's. And buyers will always not want to pay list price because they're buyers. They want a discount. And it's so funny when you're looking at the same house from the different perspectives what you see.
Right, so you're on the side of the table going, how low will you go? And she's on the side of the table going, how high will you go?
Yeah. Okay.
But we were within like $5,000.
Yeah, you guys came in a lot
Yeah.
closer than I thought you would, so
Yeah.
that was pretty cool.
That's because we were good.
Yep. Trained y'all. Well, well, you guys came in pretty good to begin with. So, okay, so to kind of get back to it, we're looking at a house. This is a brand new listing in Glendale. Literally just came on the market.
25 days ago.
Okay. Oh, I wonder why it popped up on the hot sheet. They must have changed something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it says it's only been on the market for, 25 days.
Well, list date today. Well, 6/18. What's 6?
That's today.
That's today.
Yeah, that's just.
Why is that saying 25 days?
And this is welcome to the MLS, okay? This is why we do have critical thinking involved with everything we do. Because, yeah, that didn't make sense. It showed up, I literally pulled it from the hot sheet. So it should be a brand new listing or have something else, but it literally says it was listed on the 18th. So that's crazy. Yeah, okay. But yeah, brand new listing in Glendale and just a good home, okay?
Yeah, we know where it's at.
Your clients and all of you are helping clients, okay? So what you're gonna do is basically write an offer, walking your client through what you think is the comps, fair price, closing dates, and we're gonna go through all of this using this property. Okay? Sound good? All right, so first thing, you're gonna notice if you look at the first page of the contract, it's a guide for your clients, and it's actually the cover sheet, right? And this is in the wonderful world of before e-sign, 90% of the time, how often were you actually in front of your client filling out the offers? You would have it filled out, but then you would sit there and have your client sign it right in front of you, right? You actually explained it through. Right now, nobody explains a contract because you send it via e-sign. It's wonderful at helping people sign here, sign here, sign here, sign here, but it does not explain anything. So more than anything, I would love for every one of our agents to know the contract like the back of our hand. Sure, we don't have to represent our clients and actually explain every line to them, but I would love to know that we could, and we know the implications, because this is what we do for the escrow process. What we are putting here is our offer to the sellers that will dictate how the escrow plays out every which way, right? So this first page is literally, and this is where, and look at what it says. What's the very first thing it tells you to do?
Read the entire
Think before you sign it, right? Okay, so when you're on e-sign, what's the likelihood of that happening?
Not much.
Start here, boom, and it literally just takes them straight through. If you can find a way to actually help your clients know the main points that we're definitely going to cover, it will make their life so much easier. You'll hear this a lot. We have one of the most buyer-friendly contracts in America. It's one of the greatest things ever because we came from such a bad place in the 80s and everything prior. And so there are so many outs. If you actually can explain the contract to your clients, they will feel so much more comfortable with it. And this is why I think we should send copies of the contract as part of your benefit, like your value add to your clients. Within your first 4 or 5 conversations, you say, hey, I'm gonna send you a copy of my contract. You're gonna love it. It's boring, it's a contract, but it has so many things to protect you, the buyer. You know, those type of things, and it'll help you feel good.
You have to write sample on it though.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and
And
there's,
you actually have the ability, so.
yeah, we can, or the NAR actually, if you go to AAR online, they have a sample version for you to give to your clients.
Okay.
Yeah. Same thing, when you go to get your buyer's advisory, right there on that same thing is the sample purchase contract. But yeah, zip forms allows you to make it a sample version, and I could almost guarantee
And we'll have to find
it's
transaction
transactions.
desk, Instinet
Thank
transaction
you.
desk.
I got Instinet now.
How they came up with transaction desk?
It's
But
just,
that's
yeah.
okay, that's okay. That's a new format that's taken zip forms, place of zip forms.
All right. So let's go ahead and jump right in officially. So the residential purchase contract is our 10-page document. Now this is just the offer, right? And this is all we have time to cover, and we're not even going to have time to cover it all, right? But what are the other parts that are standard? And there's going to be typically 4 parts to every single contract, okay? And what are those? Obviously,
Well, the contract itself,
Yep.
you know, the disclosure, but you're talking about the agency.
the actual
Agents.
offer. When
Oh,
you
okay.
submit your offer, what are...
Time, money, consideration, legality, there's 7 parts to a contract, but it has to be in writing. It has to have consideration, it has to have time.
For the actual contract to be legally binding, those are all the items. But literally, when
But
we
you
submit
have
our
to
offer
have- yeah.
to the sellers, we're not just submitting this 10-page document. We have 3 other documents we're going to attach to it.
You have the market conditions.
Absolutely.
You have the agency
Agency.
disclosure, you have the actual contract itself.
And then last but not least, starts with M and ends with
The
old.
mold.
Yep. Yes. Okay. These 3 things. Your agency is
They
what
were to make
it lets the other side know you are representing the buyer. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Okay. The market conditions is simply letting the buyer know the market goes up, the market goes down. It's cyclical, and we can't be held responsible for what happens a year from now. Nobody can predict the future. You know what I mean? And the last one is mold. Believe it or not, Arizona is one of the top, easily top 10 mold claims in the country, when we shouldn't be. And there's a reason behind that, which you'll become very familiar with, but we have the mold addendum because of it. Okay? So those are your 4 items. You'll have other things too, for example, an HOA, but that's not on every single home. A pool addendum, but that's not on every single home. The lead-based paint, if it's built before 1970. You'll have your others, but those are kind of be over here. The 4, these are going to be on every single one, no matter what. Okay? All right, so you'll notice that this is the checklist, which if you can sit your clients down and walk them through it, wonderful. All right? The likelihood of it happening, very slim, and you'll notice that on e-sign it's like check, 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 check. Okay? The first page, your buyers. All right? Your buyers are your buyers. Now, what do you typically ask your clients? Now, this is such a silly thing, but,
What are you looking for?
well, as far as names,
Oh.
Tom Smith, are you Tom Smith, Thomas Smith? Do you go for the full legal name? How do you convey, what do you ask your clients for?
I asked, what is your legal name? I mean, because this is what title is going to look at when the deed is recorded, so what name do you want? Because that's what we're gonna use consistently through.
Yeah, and the easy way of asking that is what name would you like to take title as? What name would you like to use?
Or
Right?
I guess they up against the wall, psst. Let me see your ID, psst.
Which ID would you like to put on this one?
Yeah, it's like, we gotta take it away from her.
I know,
It's
I
so
know,
funny.
I know, immediately.
And it's such a cute little thing too.
I know, but it isn't a toy.
It's
a weapon.
wow.
I know, sure.
Right? So I'm not here to say full names or not, right? What name would you like to take title as? If you're able to take title as Skip Jones and your name's Bill, go for it, you know? If you're using an LLC, a lot of people use LLCs.
Well, let
You
me
know?
ask though, because if for whatever reason, legally, should it not be your legal name? Because if for whatever reason something happens, you know, and then I have to go and like remove your name and have my name, should I not have
I
my
have
legal name?
also seen it written or as assigned.
Yeah.
So that the contract goes down, and if anything happens to the person signing that contract,
And or signing.
they can assign it to someone else to complete the contract. And that happens mostly when investors or
Okay,
companies
Yeah.
buy.
Yeah, exactly. That's how the Gasmans wanted every one of theirs.
Okay.
They very rarely used it, but like for
Yeah.
example, they knew that they were going to create an LLC for their apartment complex. That
And
was
so-
him and David, but they hadn't finished the paperwork yet. So that
So
was
what
where
does it need to say?
and or assignee, and you can use like and/or assignee.
Okay,
If you want,
As
you can put
assigned,
that on
like
every
you're
contract,
assigning it
right,
to
if you
someone.
chose to.
If you chose to.
okay.
And then you don't have to ask for a full legal name.
Some
Just-
people
No,
and some people
that'll go
won't
down
actually.
at title, because they're
Yeah.
gonna want identification at title.
And at title, you'll notice at signing,
Yeah, 'cause
they're
it's
gonna.
notarized.
What's one of the silliest things when people have to sign? How many variations of their name, and they have to do that exact signature. And Joshua Ezell, Josh Ezell, Joshua M Ezell, Joshua Michael Ezell. You know, every variation of your name possible. And that's where, and what people start off at may not be that. You might have your wife may not be on the loan, but she may be on title. You know, there's different ways to handle a lot of these, and that's where I wouldn't get bogged down in, it's gotta be your legal name.
Okay.
It doesn't necessarily
Just
have
what do
to
you
be.
want, do you,
And so I just ask them, how are you gonna take title? What's your official name, right? And I don't get bogged down in the legalities. And then they'll say, oh, we're gonna take it under a corporation. Oh, okay. So, you know, those type of things. So just make it quick and easy. How do you plan on taking title? Is it gonna be both you and your wife? You know, whatever it might be. It's very awkward when sometimes they say, no, it's just me. And you're like, oh, okay, sure.
Yeah, don't make it sound.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and don't, we usually say, you know, Tim Jones, a married man, and let title handle the, yeah.
See, that's in,
Let title handle the quit claim with the wife because it's a community property state, that's.
yeah, I don't, and I try to not get involved with title things because there's so many variations they can take. That's where title, that's an escrow, that's what they do, you know? And so I try to make it as quick and easy up here as
Okay, I'm
possible.
gonna put buyer, Kiss.
Keep it simple, yes.
Are we filling this out as we go now? Or
You can fill it out now,
are
or
we
you
gonna
can
need it later if I take notes on it? or-
take notes now, yeah, go for it. Yeah, we're just basically going to have an answer for every single one of these as we go through. So, it could be pick a name for your buyer, make one up, or if you want to take notes inside, yeah, whatever you want to do.
Okay.
So, yeah, they, like, right now, wholesalers, they're not actually taking possession of homes, and this is the whole game of wholesaling, is assigning contracts. So it's Bob Smith and or signing. So, and then they sign an assignment fee, and that's how they get paid. So, good fun. All right, sellers. Sellers, again, this is one of those weird things. People are very stickler-y sometimes, and then other people don't care, right? It is on the tax records. So when push comes to shove, you can write what's there. And so, for example, this home, when we go to tax records, Monster. It'll show right there. See, JCV Marketing and Investment Group LLC, right? You could write that in as you see it. Sometimes when it came to short sales assignments, and people are just, I don't even know, they just write seller record. You know, if you can, always be as specific as possible. But when in doubt, just write seller record.
But never check that as identified in section B, blah.
If you want to go there, but yeah, that's again where you fill it out. It's sometimes when it's long, if there's multiple parties involved, you know, it could be 12 different people that own it independently, you know. So that's more of those things, kind of.
but
At
that's
least
the
that's how I've
beauty of
taken
the
it.
monsoon,
Yeah.
is for looking for the legal.
Yeah,
Okay.
right. Okay. And yeah, that's pretty. So moving on, pretty
All right,
basic
so
there.
what did you have, so what was the legal description?
Okay, so
Oh,
when we
sorry,
get
sorry,
to there,
sorry.
so premises address.
Okay.
All right, this is where I have fun with my clients. Okay, I have the plano there. I have the tax records. I always print these out, and I have them there for my clients. Okay, I should have printed off the tax records for you guys too. Sorry about that. And that's where I make a joke about it because how important is it to get the right address? Okay.
It's very.
And what are all the pieces that line up for your address? You have the property address, then you have your
Subdivision and lot number and.
assessor's parcel number, your legal description. All of these add up to make sure and counterbalance each other to make sure it's all right. So
it's
this,
like a double check.
exactly.
Okay.
So I always turn everything around and I say, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, this is a big deal. Please make sure we're gonna buy the right property. And I have them check the tax record address first there. I have them look at the legal description and the assessor number.
Because we had a situation where there were actually 2 parcels, and
Yep.
the agent only wrote down 1 parcel.
It was a big block in the loan when that happened to me because
Oh, you had,
it
yeah?
happened to me too, and the buyers were a little bit ticked that they paid twice, the homeowners, but they had 2 lots.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
The county combined them after the sale.
Oh.
I can tell you the story of this one. Let me make sure it is recorded. Just making sure. Yeah. Okay. So we had one of our agents was buying, and I can't remember where this property was,
It
but
was up in Camp Verde.
that makes sense. Okay. And it was land, and it was 2 parcels put together, 1 purchase price. Okay. Now you could either do 2 purchase contracts, or you could just tie them both in together on 1 purchase because we can do that. Okay. You could put, say you're buying a condo mapped complex, you're buying 1 apartment complex, but it might have 30 apartments inside of it, and they all have individual parcel numbers. You can put that on 1 contract, okay? It's not a big deal. But you have to make sure you don't miss any of them. That's a huge deal, all right? So when she wrote this contract, the office, we're just looking at a contract. We don't know if a parcel's missing. It was never referenced. There was nothing to know that, oh, this is 2 pieces of property. So we get through closing, okay? It's not until about a week after closing, I get a frantic call from, I think it
it's
was the agent.
Yeah, it's like, did you know?
Saying that
You're encroaching?
there's a big problem. There were 2 properties. We closed on the 1, and they paid full price for that 1 property. Okay, what are the implications of having a closed property? She paid for it. And now the seller technically owns this 1 property still, free and clear.
Title insurance.
What could have happened at that moment if the seller wanted to?
If the seller wanted, he could actually say, you owe me, you gotta.
You didn't buy this property.
Yeah.
I didn't say, you gave me a contract for this, we fulfilled that, there's no claim on this, you know? And they could have gone that route if they wanted to, and they would have had a good legal claim. I can't say who would have won,
Yeah.
you know, but it would have been a good battle. Luckily, everybody was good. Everybody was reputable, and everybody just went right back to title, added that other one, transferred the property. They had to pay $40 for the transfer fee or whatever, and that was it. Okay? In this case, it worked out as good could have. Yes. Okay. So that's just, when it comes to the property, you just really want to verify.
Shake it. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
Okay.
tell you what to do.
So in this case, you
Shake it
have
first, please.
you have the property address, which would be the,
5332 West Saguaro Drive.
yep, all right. And what's really cool is that the actual programs we use will automatically transfer this info over. So the likelihood of us making a mistake on this anymore is pretty slim, which is wonderful.
I don't know where it came from though.
Just put it on the table. Somebody wants some.
All right, and you'll love our programs that we use to fill out contracts because it'll automatically fill in most of this, and you won't make many errors. But you definitely want to make sure it didn't make an error. Okay. So, all right. So you fill in the address right up top. Pretty self-explanatory there. Premises address. That's that. Assessor's number. This is the full shebang right up here. Okay. So you got your 14826-070. And it has to do with the book, what is it, section and page? Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, so this would be 14826-70 if you went down to the county and actually wanted to find it. All right, so you just copy and paste that in. That's the easiest one if you have to do it. And then city, county. The nice thing is almost everything we do is in Maricopa County, so it's pretty much self-explanatory. Okay, now legal description. This is key, okay? This property, for example, is in a pretty traditional subdivision. And pretty traditional subdivisions are usually shorter. You can run into some homes or properties that have literally 10 lines of information here, okay? That will not fit in our contract. And that's where you might have to add it on an additional page. You want to make sure, no matter what, to get the whole legal description. So right here, this one happens to be very short, okay? Not all of them will be. All right, copy and paste the entire thing, but you never want to miss that because the legal description, that wins.
Well, isn't, because that's what title uses
The
to
Yep.
verify liens and.
The legal description wins, yes.
Yeah, right there.
Okay,
Maricopa County Record, that's what MCR stands for.
okay. So that's one of the most important parts. Making sure they're buying the right property and that the right people are buying it. Now, after that, we get into the fun part. So any questions on legal description, all that fun stuff on top? No? Good to go? Perfect. Okay, so now full purchase price. Pretty self-explanatory on that one too, right? So let's go ahead and go back to the comps and let's see what we want to offer on this place. Currently 2 active, 2 pending, 2 sold in the last couple months. Now, anybody want to share the kind of cool thing that you see right off the bat on these properties in this neighborhood?
Yeah, they're paying a lot of money for these old pieces. I'm sorry.
That's an interesting opinion, Realtor.
There's actually
Yeah.
there's
I'm
like
sorry.
between 40, 50,000 between the lowest versus the highest.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, the 2 that sold for what? One sold for very close to asking price, and the other one technically went for a hair above, right? Which is why you see the average close is 1.00. Think of that as percentage, right? So 100% of asking price is what that is. 101% is over asking price, and the other one was 99% essentially. So when you see the 0.99, 1.0, and 1.01, the average around the valley right now is about 98% of asking price. Okay.
And what's interesting is the sold price, because it's full. If you take the $150.66 a square foot against the square footage of this home, it's saying that home could be 280,000.
Oh.
So that says by 234.9, obviously you already have equity built in this home, but it'll be interesting to see what it appraises for, because
Yeah, no, keep going. Yeah.
it makes me wonder if it's actually going to appraise for a little higher than the 234.9.
It should, based on what we're seeing here.
Yeah.
If the other 18, because that one was 1,900 square, over 1,900, and the other one was 1,500 square feet. So yeah, they priced this thing to sell. It's a shame it shows 25 days on the market. I would be so, like, if that was my listing, I would be on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's larger, it's got a pool, it's a year younger.
Yeah.
Or later model.
Yeah. So what do you think? If helping your clients on this one, as hard as it may be, what would you suggest they do?
98% of the asking price.
I'm
Sorry,
going
you gave
to
me the
actually
answer.
say that you go for the asking price and maybe even have
See what
like an
closing costs or
escalation
not, yeah.
and stuff, because I'm just concerned that this is going to appraise
Yep.
higher, and I guess bottom line is, how badly do I want this house?
There you go. Yep. Now, you're going to find that when it comes to writing offers, there's a couple different ways to look at it. Okay? Ultimately, what is pretty much the only thing the sellers are worried about? When all is said and done,
Appraisal.
well, appraisal, but when people are going to sell their home, when it closes, they're going to get a check in their hands
It's
for
like how much
whatever
is,
they're
how
going
much
to
are
sell their house
closing
for.
costs. Yeah.
Right? And that's what they're concerned about. What are we going to walk away with when we sell this home? Right? And that's fundamentally, how fast can we sell it? How much can we sell it for? All right?
Yeah.
So if you were helping a buyer right now, a buyer's going to be like, well, I don't want to come in full asking price. Right? And that's how they're going to come in.
Right.
As an agent, we know there's 2 ways we can handle it. We could come in less, right? Say, ask $5,000 off and just get a discount. Or we could offer full asking price, or we could go above. Those are like the 3 different places, and each situation is gonna dictate where you should be, okay? Now-
I'm still gonna say full price, because if you
Pretty
look
close.
at the other homes, this is still the lowest priced home in this subdivision and stuff, and I think it'll be accepted.
And so, not to kind of give you too much of a kind of escalated way to go about it, but right now what a lot of people will do to help their clients out so they don't have to pay all the closing costs is actually offer more. So let's say this is listed for $234,900, let's say we offer $245,000 and then ask for $5,000 back in closing cost assistance, and as long as it appraises, it's all good. They won't have to pay their closing costs, and it just lumps it in. It's a different way to come about it, where it seems like your clients are gonna get a little bit of help.
It's a larger number.
Yeah, but fundamentally, they're still only paying asking price because they went $5,000 over, but they're asking that $5,000 back, right? To the sellers, it doesn't make a difference. So that would be kind of, if it were me, I would be approaching it from that perspective. I'd either say, let's go 3,000 over and ask for 5,000 back, so we're actually only getting a $2,000 discount, so it's like a win-win. That would be something I would come in. This one would be one of the, I would say, illegitimately warrants pretty darn close to asking price.
Yeah, so you're saying,
Sounds good.
let's consider $237,900, so if it's 3,000 more?
Yeah.
And then, but with,
And we'll ask for 5,000 back in closing costs and concessions.
okay, all right.
Something like that.
So-
There's no right or wrong
Alright.
answer. It's kind of how can you make this work for your client and the sellers the best you can.
All
That's
right,
one way to
so
look at it.
then for
Yeah.
full purchase price, we'll go ahead and put down $237,900.
That works.
Okay.
Yeah, if that's what you feel. You could go 234.9. You could take off the 1%. You know, if you're coming in 2% below, you can almost guarantee they're going to counter because it's the first week. So what would be your plan? You know what I mean? I'm on that type of guy. Like, okay, if we come in here, they're probably going to counter here, and then we're probably going to end up here. You know, that
Right.
type of thing. So, what would you think?
Because I am always on the side of my buyer, I ask for a lower price. I'm sorry, I come in a little bit lower than the asking price for my buyers, on my buyer's behalf.
Okay. Well, knowing this is priced at $126.15, okay, that is blatantly below comp.
This is
And
$234,900, you said.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Price per square foot, it's
considering
$126.
what the others have sold for, and the fact that this is the lowest price in this subdivision, says that there is a very, very good possibility the appraisal is going to be a little bit higher. So that means if that the seller's either going to have to come down or the buyer's going to have to meet them. And so if I ask a little bit more than the asking price, I have some power as the buyer, but then that also might help the seller be willing to negotiate a little bit, because I'm concerned that it's going to appraise higher than the 234, just based on what these others have
Yeah, the
sold,
neighbor-
because that means that's what those appraised at.
Yeah, because the neighborhood supports that price.
Yeah. So does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah.
See, this is where you're gonna find value is all over the place, and it'll hold true in almost every neighborhood. Almost every neighborhood. Okay? You'll find homes 215,000, but chances are they're gonna be 1,100 square feet, and that puts them price per square foot more expensive than your average home. Okay? So your least expensive home may not be the best deal or value, right? On the flip side, you might find a 2,200 square foot home priced more expensive than average, but when you break it down per square foot, it's the best value in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Okay? And so that's where you look at it from a couple different perspectives. So this one, of course, asking price might suck, but what if asking price is $20 a square foot less than the rest of the neighborhood?
Because
At
look,
that
the
time,
13, yeah.
is that a good value?
Yeah.
Is it
Because-
good?
$20 per square foot less is a very good value.
Yeah.
And therefore, it might actually sell for more than asking price.
Because the
Is that still a value?
1399 square foot house sold for $239.
Yeah.
So. yeah.
See, and that's
this
where-
is 500 square feet more.
And that's where the judgment call is.
All right.
That's one of the
All right.
hardest things, to convince clients to go above asking price.
Yeah.
It's not the easiest thing, and you really have to get good at conveying value, not price. right? Especially the fact that it has a pool too, that makes it above average. I mean, there's a lot of different factors that I would say that without knowing the full shebang and walking into this home and seeing the condition, knowing everything, just on the surface, I would say there's a really good chance this will sell for at or above asking price. But that's just on the surface, throwing spitballing. Okay.
Well, I'm thinking one question the buyer would, come back with right away is, if they're asking this, why should I pay more? And you have a good answer right there.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's all about value. They probably priced it below because they don't want it to sit. They might be trying to cause a bidding war. There might be there might be a huge foundation issue. Who knows?
Yeah.
Right. I was gonna say, have we inspected these closed and pending properties as
Yes.
opposed to theirs? Have we actually seen them?
Exactly.
Because, in the same neighborhood, especially in these older neighborhoods,
Yep.
some people keep up their homes and some people don't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and this doesn't necessarily tell you if any remodeling or updating has taken place too.
So, per square foot looks good value on paper, but if you don't do your due diligence for your buyer and look at those two other properties, even if it is through the pictures.
Exactly.
Mhm,
Yep.
mhm.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. Try to get as much. When they make the decision to finally make the decision, you really jump into gear, right? You send them the listing, send them the comps. Like I will send them this CMA. I'll send them the actual listing so they can see all the picture. And then ideally, I prefer to sit down because a lot of buyers will make snap emotional decisions. They may or may not be good, but a lot of them just make emotional decisions. I've had people that refuse to pay asking price just on principle. On the surface, buying a car, that's usually right. But you're not dealing with people who price their homes way too high, way too low, right on market. And the market will dictate where it's gonna go. If they go $30,000 below, it's gonna get attention and people will gravitate towards it. If they overprice it, it's just gonna sit there. And if they overprice it, the comps are the comps. Will a buyer potentially who has cash and fall in love with your home overpay? Potentially. But I wouldn't put my eggs in that basket.
Right.
You're probably going to be listed for a pretty long time before that happens. And conveying that to your clients. And sometimes, and this is where I love how Dad's great at this, because I love helping people, right? And so I won't try to convince you to buy any particular home. But when you tell me the home you finally fall in love with, that's when it's like, okay, I get the pressure because, okay, we worked hard to find this home. We looked at 30 homes over the course of the last month to finally find this one for you. I don't want to lose this one because of something stupid, that's avoidable. It's inspections, appraisal, all that stuff is its own thing. But if I can't convince you that the comps are the comps and get you to do what is reasonable in general, I failed at my job. And that's how I look at it. I'm not going to convince you to overpay for this home, no. But if we run comps and it says that they priced this $40,000 below, it's my duty to let you know, hey, it's going to come in. So if you want to come in $40,000 below, wonderful, let's do it. But let's do an escalation clause just in case, to work in those extra things. Escalation clauses are wonderful, where you could say, I'll beat out any other offer by $500 up to $250,000.
Oh, I remember those days.
Yeah. And it works it in, right? And there's a cap to it, so you protect your clients. They will never spend more than they're willing to, and things like that, right? And so it is. Dad's good.
It's not in that market right now.
It's not a market thing. It's a home thing. You could be in the slowest market and have a bidding war on certain homes. You could be in a complete seller's market and still overprice your home. Yeah.
So you knew how to convey the value.
Every CMA on every home is a unique situation. I can make no judgments on anybody until I run those comps. And if it falls in line accordingly, wonderful. Do what you're supposed to do. If it's priced low, few and far between. This is not your normal home where you run the comps and find it way below. If anything, majority of them are going to be a little too high, and you definitely work in a little bit of room, right?
Yeah, what's your dad really good at?
No, what Dad's good at is letting people learn the lesson.
Oh, okay.
He will let people lose a home and they'll be like, oh crap. And then they will learn and then they will offer on the next home wonderfully. But I have a hard time watching them lose a home, right? I have a hard time, I put up more of a battle to try to help them make the first decision. Dad will run the comps with them and then like, okay, you do know that's below comps, right? And that's not at all what the numbers dictate. Yeah, but we just want to do it. Okay. All right. And then he basically, an hour, the next day, they either get the home or they don't. And that's part of the other thing when you learn enough hard lessons, it's hard not operating out of fear. You can't even guarantee with certain listing agents you're going to get a counter. They might just take an offer, which is not the best move on their part by any means, and that's the problem. I can't control other agents. Right. If I can guarantee a counter, I won't care what they offer because I know we'll get a counter and that's the right thing to do. You know what I mean? That happened with, my investors I'm working with, Daisy. They put in an offer on 2 buildings, and we waited for 5 days. 5 days. I was in contact with the agent non-stop, and he's like, okay, well, he's got to do this. He's got to do this. Okay, well, I'm going to be meeting with him tonight. He wanted to talk to his accountant, and then next thing you know,
Did you extend the,
well, next thing you know, I get a call from the agent. Oh yeah, oh, by the way, over the weekend they got another offer and they accepted it.
what?
Yeah.
You didn't put in writing the extension of the.
That's neither here nor there. That's a moot point. They didn't even counter us back.
Oh.
Okay, and I
But
was in
they just
contact
strung
with this
you, they
agent
strung you on by the telephone, though.
pretty much, and even though I flat out basically said, look, this was an offer. No matter what, my clients were first, and my clients are reasonable people. Counter us back. Even if that other offer is higher than us, just counter us back. I flat out said it, and they still accepted that other offer. See, and that's what I'm saying is you can't.
That just doesn't even sound like integrity.
Oh, no.
I-
No, you'll have people send out multiple counter offers to 2 people, and literally just run with the first one that comes back. You could have come back even higher, but they will just accept the other one. And that's where all I can say is try with whatever you're comfortable to get your clients to put their best foot forward, all things being equal. If they're investors, throw out 20 offers, not a big deal. But if they've looked at 75 homes over the course of 3 months to find this one, I would try hard on that
It's almost
one.
like saying, first impressions make lasting impressions.
Yeah,
so.
write that letter, do whatever you can to sell that agent. Exactly. Okay, sorry, that was a fun little tangent. All right, so whatever you're gonna offer, that's what goes in the full purchase price, okay? Now, when it comes to earnest money, what's the general rule?
Usually it's like 1%.
Approximate.
As approximate, so that would be, roughly 2,000 to 2,500.
Exactly, yep, on this house, that would be a reasonable amount. On a cash purchase, oftentimes it'll go up a little more. People will try to get away with $500. Okay? All I can say is that for a seller, the more you're willing to put up, the more serious you look.
I agree with you. However, I was always taught that you don't risk your buyer's money in case of something falling down. So whatever they're willing to risk. So I always say $1,000.
Here's the catch.
What is the catch?
I appreciate that. And this is why we know our contracts left and right, backwards and forwards, every which way from sundown. And you said the magic word there. Thank you so much. Exactly. This is the magic word. Risk. What is the risk?
The risk to my client is the loss of $1,000 as
Why,
opposed to $3,000.
But why? Why would they lose that money?
It would only be if they failed to do something.
Exactly. Okay, we as the agents are pretty much in control, and on the 11th hour, on the 9th day, we can get our earnest money.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay, and this is why, in my opinion, this isn't the risk. There are other risky things, absolutely, but earnest money is one of the few things I'm comfortable and confident in controlling and protecting. So if you're not on top of things, absolutely, it could be a risky thing. But if you know your timelines, right? If you know the contract, you know the outs, it's not at risk. And that's why I love it, okay? if my client wants to put 50 grand down on a $100,000 house, I'm okay with that. It'll make them look really good. And I know that I won't let anything happen to it. You know, if they could disappear off the face of the earth, I'll just cancel, you know, the day before on the inspection period. Things like that, right? Appraisals, out of our hands, can't control. You know, it may or may not appraise. That's why you have the appraisal contingency, right? The earnest money, as long as we don't cancel, and that's where they have to know, if they cancel on the second to last day, they are going to lose their money. But we have 5 outs throughout the process. And as long as we utilize any of those, we're fine, right?
What did you say, 5 outs?
Approximately,
Okay.
yeah. Okay, so you have your number one.
Did you say you prefer
hands
1% down?
That's the general rule. If you could get away with lower, absolutely do it. You know, but in a different market, every situation might call for a different thing. You know, what happened? Okay. All right. You have your inspection period, right? And basically, you just have to provide a reason on the Binzer. It doesn't need to be a valid reason or anything. It could say, it doesn't have enough windows, the natural light, the floor plan, the neighbor, the dog, sex offenders. I hate to say it, but there's sex offenders in every neighborhood. All right, if you go online, there could be one.
You can find one within a reasonable proximity that's a deterrent.
Yep, representing a buyer, and please don't take this the wrong way. If you're representing a buyer, you need to know the contract backwards and forwards to represent that buyer. If you're representing the seller, you need to know that contract backwards and forwards so you can represent your sellers, okay? But there's some natural things that no matter what, as a listing agent, suck because you know that the buyer's gonna do what the buyer's gonna do. So the inspection period, as a listing agent, yes, you got it under contract, but it's not done yet because they're inspections, okay? So this is the main one. Any reason, basically, any reason you can cancel, okay? So that's the 10 days, basically, okay? After that, what's the next part? Where if something happens, you could potentially get your money back. Typically happens around the same time, but it's not affiliated, and a lot of people lump them in together.
Well, doesn't it have to do when you get the Binzer? Oh, okay.
Yep. Okay, the Binzer, it's not until you both accepted
Well, that was,
that anything's set.
okay, because I was thinking, once then you send the Binzer and then you get it back, then that extends.
You
know,
keep
that
it checking,
changes
exactly,
that.
yep,
Okay.
yep. And it's not until everybody's in agreement that you're in agreement. If they decline what you want, you have that rightful 3 days after to cancel. Okay, so, but no, the HOA, CC&Rs. It's not even an HOA, it's the CC&Rs. Every subdivision has CC&Rs. Every neighborhood has CC&Rs. If you have a home-based business, can't do it, you have a rightful ability to cancel. If you have 6 cars and they only allow 4 cars and no cars on the street, you can cancel. There's lots of valid outs. If you need a certain amount of water on land, and it can't provide the amount of flow you need, you can cancel. There's lots of reasons based on CC&Rs, okay? So that's one of them. And how does that work? You have 5 days once your client receives them. Okay, it's not part of the inspection period, it's not part of that 10 days. Okay, and you'll see it's in the contract. All right, so they have 5 days.
What form do we use on that?
The HOA community.
Well, no.
It is
no.
on the HOA?
No, the CC&Rs are naturally part of.
Oh, yeah, that's what I
contract.
meant. Where is that on the contract? Where's the bailout on the contract?
Okay.
You will find it. Hold on.
Excuse me.
Oh,
They wanna come
I'm a
back?
little awkward, I have a little,
all right.
very uncomfortable.
All right. It
That's okay.
is.
You didn't put.
Do. CC&Rs. Where is it? Good question. You have to pick out the one that I had to verify which section it is. It's not warranty, it's not changes, seller spots.
I thought I knew this baby inside out, sorry, boss.
No, exactly. No, this is why we have to review these things here and there to make sure we're on top of it. It is, hold on a second. Installations. Okay.
Okay, I'll try to find it.
Sales, shoulders. Okay, there it is. Title commitment and title insurance. It's under 3C. Escrow company is hereby instructed to obtain and deliver to buyer and seller directly addressed pursuant to blah 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 blah. Okay. Insurance together with complete and legible copies of all documents that will remain as exceptions to buyer's policy title insurance, including but not limited to conditions, covenants, and restrictions, deed restrictions, easements. Buyer have 5 days after receipt of the title commitment and after receipt of notice of any subsequent exceptions to provide notice to seller of any items disapproved.
Where, I didn't.
It's
Line 123.
3C. Yeah, page 3. There we go.
126 and 127. That's what I got.
Line 123 to 126.
Yep.
Cool.
27,
Very good.
Okay.
Yeah.
And technically, they're supposed to send it out to your clients within 10 days. Technically. So technically, they can receive it on the 10th day, which technically gives them 5 more days. Sometimes HOAs won't get it out to them even on time. So no matter when they receive it, they have 5 days.
That starts the clock.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let me ask you this.
Yeah.
What form would we use to reject under this 5-day condition?
That would be a title thing. So title would, you would give notice to title, and then title would give the letter at that point. Okay. You
Wow,
could
I've
just,
never done that before, but that's understandable.
yeah. Yeah, if it's within your Binzer period, then you can just respond on the Binzer if you haven't done it yet. No matter what, the Binzer cancellation within 10 days is the simplest form to cancel. Even if it's for another reason, just do it on the Binzer. You know, yeah.
Yeah, I wonder how soon they get the,
Some of them are on the spot, some of them actually still mail it out to your clients.
because didn't Tony say, the only hang up he ever had on a cash deal was an HOA getting their stuff?
Yeah, yeah.
And I think the soonest he can get it is 10 days.
Some are very expedited. Some title are as HOA representatives will actually email it to you right then and there, which is wonderful. Some of them don't. It's really hard to say. You know, which is the city management, and then you had the other one which was pretty big. That it really depends on their rep. You'll have great reps, and you'll have other reps that you'll leave 10 messages for, and it's like, come on. So, what's the other big management company? It's like American, I forget which one it is. But yeah, they're one of the most frustrating. But yeah, see, good to know there, right? And then you have, beyond that, you have your appraisal. Then you have your final walkthrough. And then on top of that, you have your, and this is one of the greatest things that they've changed when it comes to the contract, okay? And this is technically a wonderful, wonderful out, or an extension, depending on what you guys need. For due diligence.
Are you talking about the loan?
Yep.
You're over on, this is over on, where's that? Where is
Is it page 2?
Page 2, loan application, loan process.
Yep. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so the loan contingency, okay, and unfulfilled loan contingency. Pretty much what it says here, and let's just go to 2B with the bold part, okay? So let's say for some reason your client can't obtain the loan. They have till theoretically 3 days prior to closing. But unless the sellers give you a cure notice, it never officially takes place. okay? So it's only if the seller says, on 3 days prior, they give you a cure notice that you have to perform on the day of closing if you didn't let them know, okay? So unless you get that cure notice, as long as your clients, for some reason, and this is what it says, no later than 3 days prior to the COE date, buyers shall either, 1, sign all documents, in other words, perform, or 2, deliver to seller of escrow company notice of loan disapproval or loan approval without PDD. In other words, that they're going to be able to perform. Or finally, deliver to the seller that your inability to do it. Okay? So you're either going to perform, let them know that you're ready to perform on time, or let them know you can't. Okay? So it's up to the sellers to provide you a cure notice letting you know that your time, the time clock is on, the shot clock is on. You need to perform within 3 days. You can get to the day of closing, and if you haven't received a cure period, if your client can't get that loan, oh well.
As long as it's not in writing or a 3-day cure.
Yeah. So
and a lot of people don't do that. They don't even pay
and
attention until the
and I
end.
hate to say this, but there's a lot of reasons why people can't get financing. And I'm not giving you an out, I'm just giving you a little wink there saying, unfortunately, having lots of listings throughout the years, and I've been on both sides of it, when you get a letter from a lender that their client can perform, it's very properly worded, where you just have to kind of grin and bear it.
So give me, you mean they don't disclose why?
They give why, but they don't have to say, they went out to Spencer's and bought 4 appliances that they shouldn't have done before.
They
They don't flat out tell you that, they just say
their debt to ratio changed
Could've been.
at such a rate that
their
underwriting rejected
their
the
score
loan.
dropped,
Okay.
whatever it might have been, yeah. Okay, and so that would be pretty much the final out, other than the final walkthrough that some act of God or that they didn't make the repairs that they were supposed to, obviously they can cancel on that. Okay, all right, but yeah, those are the, so you definitely have plenty of outs throughout the process that your clients can feel comfortable
It is a
about.
buyer's contract. I have a question on the front. You marked wire transfer, earnest money in the form of wire transfer.
Oh, I meant to take that off. Okay, most of my clients, I deal with investors, and most of mine are not
Okay.
local,
All
so
right.
that it's the
I just
easiest way
thought-
for them.
I didn't want it to be missing.
Yep. No, you guys will probably do a personal check more often than not. Yeah. And that's the cool thing about earnest money. It doesn't have to be certified funds. It could be a personal check, and the title will
Maybe
just send somebody
cash.
to you.
That's legal tender.
Yeah, or cash.
But
Yeah.
this is where
just-
though, when we open up with escrow, we let them know and we send a courier to go get the funds, whether it's a personal check or the cash or whatever, and then escrow is over.
Exactly. Perfect. Okay. So,
Actually, I do it.
wow, it's taking us
we
this long
talked
to get
about
to the first
courier.
page. This is great.
Talk to them.
What's that?
What are you talking about, a courier?
Very rarely, most people don't drive to the title company. It's not convenient. Most people work throughout the day. Like security title will gladly
But
just have
there's-
somebody
there's
come and pick it up from you.
And
I
it's
like
just-
going to title companies, I'm
I
sorry.
know, I know,
I
but you
think
don't,
maybe
you
you're
don't
not
want
supposed to be
there,
handling that track.
you don't want there to ever be a question
Yeah, you're not
with that
supposed to.
amount of money. And this allows, you know, them to deal directly with title, and I'm not in the way. I'm not, there's
You
no
shouldn't be
doubt.
holding that track.
If possible,
Ever.
never hold money. Yeah.
Yeah, I know you like to go to deliver the track and get all of the hurrah, but I don't think it puts you at risk.
Yes, it does.
So who pays for the courier?
If they use security title, nobody. Well, security does. That's part of what they include.
Ah, okay.
Can't say that for everybody, but that is one of the big selling points that Tony will tell you for security title.
If you're open in title, you pay for a courier.
Yeah.
I would think.
So,
About 40
I'll bring
bucks.
them over there then, because I don't want to miss out on the fun.
You can meet them there or whatever, but I don't, it doesn't
Yeah.
sound like a.
that's where it used to be a big deal when somebody
It makes
chose
you
like a title
uncovered.
company on the other side of town, but now it doesn't matter. Chances are people will never go.
It's a fiduciary relationship. They could give me their power of attorney to sign their documents. It's happened a million times, so what?
I've
That's okay, I learned things.
That's awesome. That's some trust right there.
That-
Ah,
I'm a baby
yeah.
boomer.
I
All right,
remember
so let's try to get through at least the first couple of
I
pages
understand.
if possible. This is great. I love that we're actually diving into it. Okay.
And you put pool in parentheses, because we don't have to do the pool disclosure unless they actually have one, correct?
That would be one of the potentially added ones, exactly.
You put it
Anything
in, okay.
anything that you will
This
add
goes
to the
up.
contract goes down. But yeah, okay, so let's, so number
this
12,
will
okay, number 11, you got your earnest money, which is approximately 1%. Number 12, this can go one of two ways. If it's cash, you just put the difference, because that's all there is. There's no extra steps involved. They just come to closing with whatever was missing from, from the earnest deposit. On the flip side, most people who have a loan, who are getting a mortgage, will have a down payment. So your earnest money plus your down payment, is part of your down payment. So let's say they're gonna do 20% down on a $200,000 house, that would be $40,000, minus the $2,500 or $2,000 that they put down, which would make it $37,500. Okay, so that's all you put there. So deposit, $2,500, down payment, whatever it is, minus the earnest money. And then under line 13 would be where you'd have the total amount financed. So you'd have down payment at COE, okay, down payment, oops, I'll just do this here, down payment minus earnest money. Okay, and then this would be amount financed. Now, the way you just check it is you take your amount financed, add up the down payment, add up the earnest money, and it should equal your full purchase price. So 13 plus 12 plus 11 should equal 10, if all goes well.
Do you have to necessarily put, if it is financed, whether it's FHA, VA, or whatever, does it matter?
It definitely helps. It just right on the surface, on that level, especially with people looking at it, just sellers looking at it. If it's a conventional loan, it's right there on the surface. That looks great. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So, like in this case, there is no homeowners association. So you would be able to talk with the lender about how fast they could get through underwriting to write your close of escrow, right?
Yeah.
So if they're like already there in underwriting and all they've gotta do, well, we've gotta have a 10-day inspection period. I guess the shortest close would be 20 days.
We've, the fastest a lender has closed for us was 2 weeks. And that was Mike Beckham. He was amazing on that one. Another lender failed, and he came in, got it done, and he had the appraisal and everything. Or were they able to use the other appraisal? Do you remember?
So I would think just to be safe, 20 days is a good rule of thumb.
30 days.
Oh,
30 days is a good escrow period in general.
30 is the rule of
Yeah.
thumb, but if there's no HOA and they're along in the progress, we could actually depend on the lender to give us a
I would say
sooner
21
close.
days. 3 weeks, yeah, 21 days.
So that's why it's probably safe to look at 45.
Usually 30,
Yeah. As little as 21 if you have a good
and
lender.
if it's solid, 21.
Yeah,
All right,
that works good.
that's without an HOA.
Yeah. Well, even with the HOA, as long as it's not, that's the big thing, because on a cash deal, you can close within a week. You can close usually 10 days, but as little as 4 or 5 if you're good. So it's really going to throw a kink in your cash deals more than anything. Financing, as long as you have your 10-day full inspection period, you're going to pretty much be okay, because they'll have them by the 15th day. You know, once in a while it'll get delayed beyond that, but usually they'll have the CC&Rs around the 10th day at the latest.
And on top of that, they'd have to serve us a 3-day notice to cure.
Right?
Give us an extra 3 days to get the money there.
You can even serve them a cure notice if you don't have it, and there you go. So, as a buyer, you can protect that one too. Yep. Okay, so close of escrow, like she just kind of segued. If you're in a hurry on a finance deal, 3 weeks, usually 30 days. As long as 45 would be the longer end of normal, but I would never, representing a buyer, I would strongly caution against going on the longer end. Because most sellers want to be rushed out of their house, but they want to close as fast as
Yeah, they're in
possible.
a hurry.
Yeah. Okay, cash deal though, 10 days. Fastest one and this is where I wish I could do one in 24 hours. I've opened escrow on a Monday and closed on a Friday. Okay. And that was with an HOA. They performed. That was Surprise Farms, I think it was.
Yeah, I think.
Well, I would think that the title companies would own that stuff after they've paid for them a million times and just pay a fee to them to use them.
Hopefully.
You know what I mean? They'd be on in their electronic file.
Yeah, it's and funny
If
enough.
they-
It's like I would imagine. I guess it's more of like your mom and pop ones, maybe that you're dealing with a person, not a company, that has to get around to it. Maybe, there can be a lot of reasons, but very rarely are you going to be delayed because of your HOA, unless it's a cash deal.
Because that's the cool thing with title, is they're kind of on them. And so
Yep.
for the most part, that's why we very seldom, at least I have found, you don't have that delay.
All right.
There were other issues.
Now, unfortunately, I have to use the restroom, so I'll let you guys talk about fixtures and personal property. Because specifically speaking, draperies and things of that nature, and then
Anything
washer,
attached.
dryer,
Yeah.
fridge. Talk about what your opinions are as far as buyers.
Well, frankly, I don't want my own washer, dryer, and fridge because it's my food and my clothes, so,
But a lot of
about you,
people
Michelle?
buying a home, it's like they don't have a refrigerator, and so it's nice when it does come with it. And I love that if it comes even with a washer and dryer, because I can turn around and sell it, and then put what I want in it, but I made some money.
I see. So you like the idea of asking the seller to leave their appliances?
And a lot of times they fuss because they don't want to move them.
Yeah, who wants to move them?
That's just what I thought, yeah.
Well, on the mailbox, I found that if it's an off-site mailbox, like a bank around the corner, you definitely want to get your buyer the number and location of their correct mailbox so they can get their mail.
Well, what you end up doing for safety reason is that you give them a person that will then rekey it and everything and will show them where that box is and stuff.
Post office would be?
Actually, the post office doesn't do it anymore. Yeah, you have a rekey, we have people that specifically work on rekeying the mailboxes just for safety reasons. And especially because so many of the communities have those community boxes. So what's your thought?
Huh?
What's your thought about that?
I'm just writing it down. It's funny. Sylvania Model 85 cream serial number, blah, 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 blah. Kenmore agitated model, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
LG, yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Dryer,
we-
No bait and switch.
We had a situation
Rinky dinky,
that, yes,
stinky.
when they were going to do their final walkthrough,
No, I would just
that
put
the
the serial
seller
number
was
there.
actually carting away the washer and dryer. It's like, excuse me, that was part of the picture, that's what we, said we wanted to buy.
Oh,
And
it
then
was
another
displayed
one
in
was
the-
where the buyers swore that that was not the refrigerator that he saw when they did the initial, and it's like, so they had the pictures though to compare in this case that says, yes, it was. So it was interesting to see both sides of the story.
That's before they had these
Yeah.
check mark boxes, yeah. They
Well,
got
the
real
description.
specific about
The
that.
description.
Yeah,
Yeah.
description. It used to just be a checkbox on the top of the second page, literally just check, 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 like washer, dryer, fridge, check, 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 that's it.
Uh-huh. But now the
Right, so
description.
what they saw is not what they got.
Yeah.
How many of us,
Especially in those model homes,
Oh.
because in the model homes, they'd have the
Yeah,
super
upgraded
duper
ones,
washer dryers, and then
yes.
by the time my client got in, they got the regular little middle models.
Well, how many of us have said, as per MLS Bureau?
Yep.
As
As seen on the premises on 222,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
whatever it might be. Yeah, no, it's so ridiculous because unfortunately you can't go in there and get the serial number of every single appliance on every single home you went in and looked.
Yeah, because
You know, so you do the best you can, and if possible, if you can go back and actually either take a picture or reference or do something, that is definitely good. But at least try to get the name brand and any description. Stainless steel LG with
Thank you,
ice, you know, in front, you know, whatever it might be. You know, French door fridge, whatever it might be, something like that. Yeah, Sub-Z, yeah. Weren't they Wolf appliances? I just wanted to Wolf. The most expensive, exactly. All right.
Wolf stove.
So, okay, so yeah, your the general rule, and this is where, when conveying to clients stuff, if you can make a joke or a little saying or phrase out of it, it just becomes, it hits home. So the general rule, if you have to unscrew it to take it with you, you're not supposed to take it with you, okay? That's the general rule. And the way stoves actually get lumped into that is because there's supposed to be an anti-tip bracket, where if a kid is standing on the front, you know how it opens, if a kid stands here, it won't tip over. And
So
that's
that makes it
attached.
attached.
Exactly. Okay. A lot of people won't have it attached, unfortunately. And so that is one thing that will pop up quite often in inspections. Yep. So, okay. So draperies, even though they're not attached, you have to take it off. You have to slide it through, and so they're not supposed to. That's one of the weird ones. In the last year, I've had 2 owners specifically want to keep their drapes. Of course, the buyers did not care because they really didn't want them anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
okay. So that's that. Washer, dryer, fridge. You guys nailed it. And representing a buyer, what's your general rule? Do you try to get it whenever possible?
I do. Yes. And we were sharing because even if it's something I don't want, I can try and sell it, you know, but
Craigslist. So,
Yeah.
Yep. Whatever it might be.
I
Well,
would
if my
try,
buyer
unless
wants
they
it,
had
I'd try
plans,
harder.
their
If they
heart's
don't
set
care,
on
I'd still
new
try.
appliances.
true, true. If it's a
Good purchase.
PLC, yes.
Yeah, if they had, yeah.
Put that one in the garage and sell the washer and dryer or donate it to Goodwill or whatever, get a tax deduction.
And property management companies often are looking for cheap appliances. So just
To
keep
what?
that out there.
Property management, yes.
They're
Yes.
looking for what?
Cheap
Washer and
appliance-
dryers?
cheap
We're often
appliances.
looking for cheap appliances. Yeah, to put into some of our
Well, I have a Kedburn rinky dinky stinky here.
Yeah. I don't know if we're in need at the moment, but it's oftentimes we're looking.
I'm gonna need a washer in about a week.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Over wood.
Other personal property not otherwise addressed. Oftentimes people have those solar stick in the ground things. They're not really attached because they're just,
Oh, the lights,
you know, the lighting
garden
around.
lighting.
Garden
The
lighting,
paths.
stakes in the ground
Yeah.
from Home Depot?
Like landscape lighting?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's typically included though. That's landscaping.
No, I'm talking about those ones that stick into the ground. They're
They're
solar.
not wired. They have a
Yeah.
battery charging.
And they light up the path, but they're not attached, they're not even attached to one another.
You're right
You could
there.
put 6 on one side, 10 on
I
another.
would talk to the
Well,
buyer
they're
about it.
not screwed in.
I would say this. I would say.
I think they're relatively inexpensive.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
I
Oh
wouldn't
man,
even
that's a
address
good one. Landscaping is typically part of it. Now let me double check. Let me look
Well,
at
this
this. Look
says,
at
this
this.
says outdoor fountains and lighting.
Yeah, but it doesn't
But-
say if they're wired or not because.
Exactly.
But it does. It's just outdoor lighting. Typically
Mhm.
speaking, landscape stuff is just not like a gnome or like flamingos that are just in. That may or
That's
may
like
not.
personal.
But
yeah.
landscape lighting, I mean, technically, pavers aren't fixed either, but you would leave them, you know? So I would just think twice before, if your buyers ask, I would bring it to the sellers. Or if the sellers, I would
That's true,
strongly
'cause
urge
it
them not
does-
to.
It just says outdoor fountain and lighting.
Yeah. Yeah. Because they used to be wired in, but now they're not. You're absolutely right. But I would, yeah, that's a little iffy there. Okay. So,
Okay, just a silly
other-
question.
other personal property that I have seen where I've seen people incorporate big TVs. I've seen people incorporate like not attached projectors, but it was a nice projector thing that they had in the back, and it wasn't actually attached. And so they included it because it was actually a theater room, and so they just included
They just
it.
made it clear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had people include actual electronics, as in it was a surround sound setup. They included all the speakers and stuff, but they went ahead and included all of the actual receivers and equipment because they were already set up and good to go, and things like that. So that's
what I
where.
would need, set up and good to go.
So that's examples of other personal property, right? You can incorporate anything. You can incorporate a Carmen Ghia. You can incorporate art. You know, it's whatever your clients want. A Tesla, I saw that included one time. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was only like a $2 million house. All right. Financing, and let's see how far we can bust through here. So financing pre-qual form is attached, right? In order for your offer to even be anything, it has to be accompanied by cash, like proof of funds, or the pre-qual form, one of the two. It is not official without it, and that's kind of showing that your clients can perform. Now, the loan contingency we talked about, that's perfect, unfulfilled, talks about how we do it, interest rate funds, loan status update. This is one of the stupidest, most annoying things in the world, is having to keep everybody updated on your loan statuses, okay? Good buyer's agents will keep you updated as a listing agent, but it's one of those things that please don't forget, because they did put it into the contract. Technically, if you're representing the buyer, you are required to do this, okay? So this isn't the pre-qual form, this is the proposed 10 days contract acceptance. Instruct the lender to provide an updated LSU upon request. Okay. So, yeah, it's just, it's one of those stupid details that requires us to do something extra.
Well, actually, I like the new LSU because it's got all the steps on it and they mark them off on the date that they did it, so you kind of got an idea of how close you are to the end.
Yeah. As a listing
I'm sure
agent,
they don't
they're
like it.
wonderful because you're supposed to get them whenever you want. You know, like on a regular basis, every week, every 2 weeks, you could just ask them for it.
Mm-hmm.
As a buyer's agent, it's just annoying because that's one more step that we have to be on top of. Okay, you need this week's LSU, and if you get 2 or 3 in escrow, having to remember each week to get the updated LSUs for everybody is just kind of annoying.
Right, no,
So,
so
yeah.
they just send them to me. I don't send them on to the seller or the title company.
Title company, not so much. Sellers, you should.
Oh, actually, the lender did. The
That's
lender
perfect.
copied us.
Perfect.
Yeah, you're
That's
right.
a good lender.
Lender
Yeah, right
copied
on.
us, but
Yep. If
Yeah.
a good lender will have like every Friday, they'll send them out to everybody, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
I would think that. And it's probably good to have, because you wanna see people progressing and taking action.
Yeah, it used to be that we just did it whenever we were asked, just no matter what. Now it's actually part of it that we're supposed to do within 10 days. So, yeah, it's silly. Just random. Okay, so on that page, that's pretty much it. We covered the main things. You can read the details on that. So now we're on to page 3. You'll notice that a lot of these are just, what is the loan application? How do we do it? What are the loan costs? You know, how do you calculate changes? The big thing on these is a couple things. Number one, what type of loan and the concessions, okay? This is where you're gonna put in concessions. And this is where a lot of buyers have a thing about concessions, okay? What does the term concede mean?
to give up. Or
Yeah, it almost implies I lost,
scrabble it.
right? Concede. I'm gonna concede. I'll concede this one. You know, like it's almost implied. It's not necessarily the definition, but it's implied by that word, right? And that's what a concession is. It's the seller agreeing to take care of something, and it doesn't have to be the seller. It could be, and you'll see in the MLS, there's actually a spot. The buyers are conceding things to the sellers, right? Like the buyers can technically pay the seller's closing costs. They could. It doesn't happen, but there's a spot in there for it. So, but that's where, so on here, this is where, and if as a seller, when you get an offer, it's like, yeah, look at the first page, but after you finish the first page, immediately go to the third page, because that's when you're probably gonna get the bad news. If you get a full asking price offer, really good chance they came back and asked for concessions, right? And it looks like asking price on the first page, but really boils down to it, it could be 3% off,
Right.
okay? So this is a very, very important page. And number 2, as an agent, how do I say this? Okay. Appraisal, for example. can or cannot be part of the process, okay? Now, would you want to hold up and make the sellers pay for your appraisal and add an extra step, or would you rather just get a credit at the end and just lump everything in together? That's
The credit, yeah.
That's what most people prefer to do. So that's why you'll notice I have it filled out the way I do, and I either check will or will not, okay? And I always say it will. It'll just be paid for by the buyer up front, and then it'll just be credited back at the end. Doesn't require anybody to do anything extra up front. There's only two things that the buyers will have to pay for up front, outside of, you know, their earnest deposit. That's their inspection and their appraisal.
Yeah, always. The buyer pays the appraisal.
Yeah. So I understand why they
Because that
do.
makes the buyer privy to the appraisal.
Yeah, and to make the sellers pay for something prior to closing, it just doesn't make any sense.
Well, a seller concession occurs before the appraisal cost, so what would you be asking the seller to concede?
Yeah, it's like, you're gonna make me pay for your appraisal before we even finish anything? See, there's so many questions with that, I don't get it, so.
So, do you ask for, I'm asking you, do
Yeah.
you ask for seller concession?
Well, every offer is unique.
Okay,
If-
because I've only done that on VA loans because it's required.
Well, not even necessarily required, I mean, there's a certain amount, but concessions are concessions. So you could either say $500 in the case of like a VA, but 2%, 3%, 2,500, 3,000, it could be an umpteen number of different things. For example, my last one that I closed, it was interesting because, and this was an engineer I was helping, and you could totally tell in the end. Originally they had 2% concessions, okay? It was a $400,000+ home, so they had approximately $8,600 to work with, okay? When all was said and done, their closing costs weren't that much. So what we ended up doing was that we took the difference of what he didn't use, of that, I think he used a total of like $6,200. So there was like over $2,000 left, and we just did a price drop on the difference, but he ended up crediting the seller an extra $500. So the seller got to keep an extra $500 in their pocket, and he ended up getting a price reduction and concessions. And it all equaled out to the same thing, because the net price was going to be the net price, and that's all that mattered. So have fun with this, is kind of what I'm saying. There's no right or wrong way to do it. You know, what will net the seller is what will net the seller, and what will make the buyer happy is what's going to make the buyer happy. You know? So good fun. But yeah, appraisal stuff, try to keep those done, and that just makes it clean and simple, and you'll never have any issues. Legally, I think max seller concessions is 4%. I think in some loans maybe 5%, but usually you're going to see 2 to 3%. I think
Or flat amount.
or a flat amount, yeah. Okay.
When is it usury?
What's that?
Usury?
When is it usury?
Usury.
10%?
Is that my
Keep
Missouri stuff?
talking, but I
What
have.
about
Oh, we got 1
something-
minute. Yeah.
Got something from Molly and Richard.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so last part, let's just finish up page 3, and this will be good. Title and escrow, okay? As a buyer, agent, you will always choose. Sellers will fight back, do not let them win, you choose, okay? Buyers have the say in who the title company is. And you have your relationship with the people you trust, okay? So we have a great relationship with Security Title. I have a great relationship with Trish Worsham. She's been my lady for years. If you want to try her, you won't go wrong. But I'm not going to tell you who to use. I just will say find somebody you love, somebody who is doing a good job. When push comes to shove,
Yeah, we have them.
I have a lady that goes way back to when I lived here and I was doing loan origination.
perfect.
And she, the title for me, when I bought, title for Brooke, when she bought, she's kind of like a member, an extended member of our family.
That's perfect.
And she's incredibly tight and efficient.
Perfect.
Oh,
And
and she knows
hopefully you'll never-
everybody.
And she doesn't play.
Hopefully you'll never
And
have to
she
use
can
it, but
record if you sign by 10 on a Friday.
oh yeah, that's.
So if push comes to shove.
Push comes to shove, and it's not often it will happen, but there will be disputes. It happens. and having a good title rep, it's amazing how the ball lands on your side.
Now, when Tony was here, oh, excuse me, when Tony was here and they say they put on the MLS, ooh.
Yep.
That was good stuff. He said when the seller puts in, please use so-and-so at this title company, then you're supposed to write in, then you pay for the title fees if you use that company, right? Something like that?
If you want to. I would rather just use my company, and you'll still, talk to your lady, because you'll still be able to get discounts and stuff like that, right? If you get your clients to use them on a regular basis, they'll give you investor rates and discounts and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So, I would rather always, I don't care if they would pay for it or not, I would still rather use my people. There's no way to quantify a bad experience, because if somebody doesn't close, that's a bad experience. If somebody didn't close on time and they had moving trucks and they had to find a hotel for a week just because of something stupid, well, how do you put a price on that? You know, and that's what you're avoiding. You know, some title person missing something, and then all of a sudden there's a cloud on title that they're sure they get to keep it, but it's still crap. You know, all those things are avoided by your person. All right.
All right, Richard, I know that your 15th birthday was probably absolutely amazing. Because I know Molly's 15th birthday is going to be absolutely amazing.
All right.
Where's Mike? We thought it was his birthday.
He's doing other stuff.
Oh,
So who has birthdays in June in general?
Richard's his
So,
son.
Mike's is tomorrow, yours is Friday, yours is Sunday, right?
Nice.
That's
No.
not.
Is it the 23rd?
oh, yeah,
Okay.
that's it.
Okay.
I thought I
So-
had a couple
Alright.
months left.
We thought it would be
Cheesecake!
fun to sing Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Mom, Mike, and Richard. Happy birthday to you and many more.
Okay, let's take a selfie.
All right.
Oh, that's the one funny 50.
Oh,
And rounded.
yes, yes,
Hold on,
yes,
hold on.
Well, since this came as a complete surprise to me, I wasn't prepared at all.
So we thought this would be cool because this way everybody could maybe get, oh, okay, I want the blue. I want the blue.
Yeah, we thought we were gonna put this on Mike, Charlotte.
They're tiny.
Yes, they
They're
are.
rather
You
tiny.
gotta take a picture, we gotta take a selfie.
It's supposed to be one size fits no one.
It's gonna be harder,
It's all
much harder
babies.
to do wearing the glasses.
Come here, baby, come here. I
Oh
gotta,
my God,
turn around, okay, I wanna,
Let's
hold
get
on.
over here. I'm blinded.
Papa, you thought you'd get back here.
Yeah, go
That's
straight
funny.
ahead.
How can we do
Why?
this? Yeah, how do we do
How do you do the wide one? I know that that's part of
Okay,
it.
hold on.
I don't know how. I don't practice often.
I might
You gotta get in closer, everybody gotta get in closer, that's it. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh,
get
that's
mine.
funny, that's funny.
Okay,
Everybody come closer.
all right, hold on.
I'm gonna get on your shoulder.
I'm blind as
Hold my hand, there
You
you
gotta
go.
get in front. You're the birthday girl.
All right, hello.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Close to me, Mom.
All right.
There we go. 1, 2, 3.